Hi, I'm Rabbi Jeremy from Mahar, and this is our Kabbalat Shabbat for September 10th, 2021, just a few days before Yom Kippur. So this is Shabbat Shuvah, which is the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, sort of the last Shabbat hurrah for the period of introspection, reflection, and atonement that marks the high holidays. So we'll do a little bit of Kabbalat Shabbat today and talk a little bit about the high holidays, and then you'll be able to get on with your evenings. So we'll start by welcoming each other with a song, and we'll use Hine Matov because it's one that lots and lots and lots of us know. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Amim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Amim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Amim Gam Yachad. So Mahar is a humanistic congregation, and every so often it's worth asking the question, why do Shabbat as humanistic Jews? Why do Shabbat if you don't think that you are commanded to stop work for 25 hours, more or less, and change everything that you do in terms of liturgy and things that you say, and avoid certain categories of behavior that are considered by rabbinic law to be work? Why still do Shabbat? And the answer is, in part, well, why do we still have a weekend? We have a weekend because everybody needs rest. Why do Shabbat? Because as Jews, this is when we culturally recognize a time that we together rest. The predominant culture in the United States, even though it's nominally secular, is largely shaped by Christian culture, and so Sundays are more often the Christian cultural day of rest, right? And so even if stores don't close, many of them have shorter hours in kind of continued recognition of that. So our continued recognition of Jewish heritage is in part to say Shabbat begins on Friday evening and it ends on Saturday evening, and we, like other Jews and people connected to the Jewish community, observe some kind of a reduction in our work, some kind of rest period during that time. So that's why Shabbat, and the how of Shabbat is going to be different for everybody, right? So some people will actually take a tech holiday and they turn off the cell phones and they turn off the iPads and they turn off the TVs. They turn off the computers and they say, we're not using computers or any of this stuff for the next 24, 25 hours so that we can focus on ourselves and one another as a family. And some people say, you know what? My work obligations, my family obligations are just too significant for me to completely put aside the computer, to put aside the iPhone, to put aside the iPad or the tablet or whatever it is you're using, and they're too involved for me. My obligations are too involved for me to be able to say, I'm not going to work. So instead, Shabbat provides a built-in period during the week where there's some kind of opportunity to stop and reflect and rest. So with that said, How do Jews mark Shabbat? Well, humanistic Jews mark Shabbat the way everyone else does, with candles, wine, and challah. So I have our candles here. I'll go ahead and light our candles. And if you have candles with you, you can light your candles as well. And the blessing that we'll use tonight is Nivarech et ha'or ba'olam, Nivarech et ha'or ba'adam, Nivarech et ha'or shel Shabbat. Let us bless the light in the world. Let us bless the light in humanity. Let us bless the light of Shabbat. And we have wine. Nivarech et yotzrei pri hagafen. Let us bless those who create the fruit of the vine. And I'm not going to sit and eat a bunch of challah in front of you, but this is a high holiday style challah. It's round instead of the traditional braid because we're in the middle of the high holidays. And so, Nivarech et hamotzeim lechem min haaretz. Let us bless those who bring forth bread from the earth. Why say blessings? Well, blessings are, in Judaism, not exactly a blessing of the thing we're about to use, but a blessing acknowledges gratitude to the source of those items. So when we say, let us bless those who create the fruit of the vine, we are expressing thanks. In humanistic Judaism, in Judaism generally, we don't bless the item, we bless the source of the item. So that's why we still recite blessings, because it's a built-in gratitude practice, which is a thing that you can actually take into your regular life and use, right? So we know all about gratitude practices. We hear about them all the time. You can go to the bookstore and you can find books about gratitude practices, or you can just build it into your day, which is kind of what we're doing when we say blessings over wine or light or challah. We're expressing gratitude for the things that we have. Even if sometimes the things we have aren't the things we want, but they are the things we have. And there's a little bit of room to be grateful for having something. So, as people who seek peace, we want to be able to welcome one another. And there are several songs that are traditionally associated with Kabbalat Shabbat, right, with welcoming Shabbat. And several of them are connected to Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical tradition. So we'll do one of those now. It's called Shalom Aleichem, and the humanistic adaptation of Shalom Aleichem focuses on people who are pursuers and seekers of peace, rather than on thinking about visiting angels who come only for Shabbat and leave at the end of Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Mohavei HaShalom, Shomrei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Rodvei HaShalom, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Mohavei HaShalom, Shomrei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Rodvei HaShalom, Shalom Aleichem. Oachem L'Shalom, Ohavei HaShalom, Zeitchem L'Shalom. Miyom Zeh L'Yamim Habayim, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom, Zeitchem L'Shalom. Miyom Zeh L'Yamim Habayim, Shalom Aleichem. So traditionally that song is welcoming angels who visit homes that are observant of Shabbat, stay there for 24 or 25 hours and then leave at the end of Shabbat. And so instead, we welcome Ohavei HaShalom, people who love peace, Shomrei Shalom, people who are guardians of peace, and Rodfei HaShalom, people who pursue peace. There's another song that's very commonly associated with Kabbalat Shabbat, and it's Khadodi, a song that traditionally welcomes Shabbat as a bride. And so we have our version of Khadodi that we'll do as well. So part of what we're doing on Shabbat is taking a moment to rest. Another thing that a lot of people do on Shabbat is take a little bit of time to study something Jewish. So what can we study that's Jewish when we're just doing this video that's going to play and you'll watch it, and I'm not going to take a book and hold it up against the screen, right? I guess I could. There's a bunch of books behind me, but I'm not going to do that. So let's talk about what's going on this time of year with the high holidays, and talk about why humanistic Jews do the high holidays too. So what are the high holidays about? We sometimes treat the high holidays as though they are sort of the Super Bowl of repentance, the Super Bowl of making amends. Like you start on Rosh Hashanah and you finish on Yom Kippur, and that takes care of it for the year. And that's not really how the rabbis, when they were thinking about how Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur would work, that's not really how they thought about it. That the ability to make amends, the ability to atone, is something that's available all the time. But that the high holidays are particularly good times for that, and from their perspective it was because the gates of repentance are open wider, and they used imagery that we're maybe familiar with, the idea of a book of life, and the idea that you aren't inscribed in the book of life at the beginning of the holiday, but hopefully you are by the end, and that determines who lives and who dies, and what means they die and when they might die, and all of those kinds of things. These are images that the rabbis conjured or developed, and that people came to accept in large part as true, but that we don't really have evidence for beyond the rabbis saying that they had these ideas. And so what we're really getting at with these images and this period of time is, yeah, this is available all the time, right? there's always a possibility that you can go to somebody and make amends for something that you've done wrong to them. There's always the possibility that you can recognize a flaw in yourself and say, okay, I've got to fix that, and find some way to reconcile that within yourself. Always a thing that you can do. But if you look around at our culture, there's not really a time for that, is there? So if you look at modern secular culture, when do you do that? So maybe you say, well, New Year's Day, January 1, people make resolutions. Sure. And sometimes they make the same resolutions every year to themselves and then don't follow through with them because, look, let's face it, it's not an especially serious time of year. When else might it happen? Well, you could say people recommit themselves to Christian belief on Easter and Christmas, but neither of those are actually about doing the work of atonement and repentance yourself, necessarily. So there isn't a time that's come into our modern culture. It's not the 4th of July. It's not, right? Like, if you name these holidays, there's no holiday that's particularly good for this. And so Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, this period provides within Jewish culture a place and a time and a set of possible ways to rebuild, to reconnect, to repair relationships, to make good things that were done not so well in the prior year. And so it's good to have that time, just like it's good to have a designated time to rest. And Jewish culture has identified this particular time as a particularly good time for that. And that's simply a result of biblical tradition, identifying a day that lands usually in mid to late September as Yom HaKippurim, the day on which the Israelites would have atoned. So we maintain that tradition and we bring it forward because it's good to have some designated time that challenges you to be better. Otherwise, every day is a day that could challenge you to be better and it gets lost in the shuffle. So that's why we still do it. Shabbat Shuvah is considered a particularly propitious time for this because it's the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So we're here, it's Shabbat Shuvah, we're in the middle of the high holidays period, and as humanistic Jews, we don't necessarily think that there are gates of repentance waiting and they're more open than ever they have been before in the year, so much as this is our culture and this is when we do this. So having said that, I think it's useful for us to think about not just our relationships with other people during the high holidays, that it's important to think about how we deal with ourselves, because we're rough on ourselves. We spend a lot of time with negative self-talk, a lot of, God, that was so stupid, I can't believe I did that, why did I do that? And it's worth taking some time to think about what we do to ourselves, as well as what we do to other people. And Shabbat's a good time to do that, because Shabbat's a built-in time to pause. So we have a pause, Shabbat, within a bigger pause, the 10 days from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, the days of awe. So consider this as the time that you can give yourself, right? It's not time that's being handed to you. You do have to make it, but we've got a good time in the week to do it. Think of this as time you can give yourself to work on that stuff. This is also time that you can take to think about people that you've lost, to think about people who are sick that might need some help. And so rather than recite a Kaddish tonight, we'll just bring those people to mind. And it would be good if we resolve to do a little something for the people that we can do something for to help. And then we'll sing a song that is traditionally kind of comes at the end of Kaddishes in humanistic Jewish communities. And if you know Ya'aseh Shalom, this is not Aseh Shalom. It's not a big difference. Melody's going to be familiar. The words will be a little bit different if you're not familiar with the words, but that's okay. Sing along if you can. Hum along if you can. It's all okay. Na'aseh Shalom Ba'olam, Na'aseh Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleichem ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleichem ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleichem ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleichem ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleichem ve'al kol ha'olam. And just as Ya'aseh Shalom, the more traditional version of the song, asks that peace be made, Na'aseh Shalom recognizes that we've got to do the work. Na'aseh Shalom is let us make peace, rather than Ya'aseh Shalom, let somebody else make peace. So that's a pretty traditional way of wrapping up a Kaddish, and so we've not recited a Kaddish, but we have instead brought to mind people who need help, brought to mind people that we've lost, and committed to working for peace in their names. So I hope that you find something meaningful that you can do during the high holiday season to renew yourself, renew some relationships, and I hope that you have a Shabbat Shalom. And we'll end tonight with a traditional-ish, for Machar anyway, song for ending our services, Od Yavo Shalom, which means there will yet be peace. Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Shabbat Shalom, and I hope I'll see you another time.